And there you go. So, welcome everyone to the exciting workshop, the 10 Comedy Tips to Influence Any Audience by Stephen Dyer. Let me give you a quick introduction for Stephen. Originally, Stephen is from Costa Rica. He's a DTM and he's a banker turned comedian with 600 plus shows in 8 countries, including Peru, Mexico, and Malaysia. In 2017, after becoming one of the youngest senior managers in Scotiabank Toronto, he quit his lucrative bank job to pursue his professional career in stand-up comedy. How I wish to do this thing. I'm going to take this step. Since then, he has been on Comedy Central, Second City, TEDx, and some of the world's largest comedy festivals. He is the co-founder of at Malpensendo, an award-winning bilingual public speaking and comedy school in Toronto, Canada, that has empowered 10,000 plus professionals to become funny, confident speakers. In February 2021, Stephen was featured on the cover of the Toastmasters magazine. Just look at the Toastmasters cover just behind his screen. There you go. This magazine, as you know, is distributed to over 364,000 members across 143 countries. Sit back and enjoy this workshop. I know we all are going to take some tips. Please welcome Stephen Dyer, DTM.
Bravo! Thank you, Alan. Yes, Paul. Yes, I love the enthusiasm. Wow, I'm so happy. My 1-year-old baby's happy. He's having, look at him. Look at him. He's having a great time. He's excited for this workshop. But we're going to get this going. Baby Liam is here present too to learn. My friends, welcome to 10 Comedy Tips to Influence Any Audience. My name is Stephen Dyer, DTM. Thank you to everyone who contributed to my DTM. Such a supportive community. We were just saying, Wendy's been along the way, Kareem's helped me along the way, everyone at Bay Street Breakfast Club. We meet still Wednesdays, 7:30 in the morning. If anybody wants to come visit, used to be at King and Bay, now it's on Zoom and Bay. Now, I'm very excited to teach you the secrets behind influencing audiences through humor. Now, I'm going to ask as many people as I can to turn on their cameras because this is going to be really interactive. It's okay if you haven't showered in 9 months. It's okay if you're drinking coffee, if you're having toast with eggs and bacon, it doesn't matter. I want to be able to see you. Extra points. Yes, Karen, I love it. Extra points, brownie points. Yes, Diane, I love it. And more brown. Oh my God, David. Yes, extra points. I love the background. Brownie points. Okay, we're getting more and more. I love the Starbucks mug, Diane. I love it. What city is that? Cologne. Is that Belgium?
It's Germany.
Germany, yes. Very good, Jim. Very good, Janice, Reg, Maria. Perfect. I love it. So excited. I can see all of you now. So by show of hands, keep putting on those videos because I need to see you. I need to talk to you. A lot of you are going to participate today. By show of hands, who here thinks they're not funny? Okay, we see a lot of hands. Okay, I see Marilyn said a little bit, half and half. Okay, keep those hands up if you think funny is learnable. Can you learn being funny? Okay, so a lot of you have faith. That's really good. And the answer is yes, you can learn it. In fact, my family doesn't think I'm funny. A lot of people don't think I'm funny. And it doesn't matter because you don't have to be funny for everyone. The whole idea is finding your own style, your own delivery, and mixing that with science, literally how to be funny. So you can learn it. Now, I've done the work of reading tens of books, taking like tens of workshops, and failing thousands of times on stage, which makes me a better comedian and speaker. I don't know if you know, but there's a really incredible statistic that professional tennis players have lost more in their careers than they've actually won, which tells you it's kind of what it takes to make it far. It's consistency, not giving up, and persistence. So we're going to be able to communicate in the chat a lot in this workshop, unless I call on you for a specific activity. But in the chat right now, I want you to tell me if you could touch comedy, if you could define it, or for those math statistics people, oh, Liverpool jersey, I love it, Ray, I'm a big soccer fan. What is comedy? Is there a formula? When you see people on Netflix or Comedy Central or YouTube making you laugh, what is comedy? How do you define comedy? Let's see it in the chat. Whatever you think, there's no wrong answer. Kareem, you were in the presentation last night, so don't say it because you already, self-deprecation. Yeah, self-deprecating humor is really good. Twisting the obvious, whatever makes people laugh, positive surprise. Really good, surprise is key. Self-deprecating humor, yeah, that's key as well. The ability to make someone smile and laugh, perfect. Making relatable issues funny, that's really good. Changing the unexpected. Observational humor, yes, these are all valuable. Entertain to educate, yeah, or as some of my friends say, edutainment. Funny because it's true. Incredible, Paul. Surprise. Okay, so all of these are accurate. Now, I want you to write this down because it's really going to allow you to be smart about what topics you use to make people laugh. So the first thing, it's not even a comedy tip yet, but it's the definition. So the definition is comedy equals truth plus pain. That's all comedy is, truth and pain. Another way to see it is comedy equals tragedy plus time. So if you think about it, beautiful things are not that fun. Like if you say, oh, I'm so tired because I have 19 mansions and 19 Ferraris. That's not funny. Like beautiful things are not funny. Oh, my life is so hard. Unless you're being sarcastic on purpose, but like incredible, beautiful things are not that funny. Now, the observational, so when it's true, it's funny. When there's pain behind it, it's also funny. When you see comedians talking on Netflix or Comedy Central or YouTube, they're not talking about how great their lives are. They're talking about how horrible their lives are. Something horrible that happened to them, that's the pain part, or something that's really true. And you're like, oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Or you say, yeah, that's relatable, or yeah, that happened to me. So I just wanted to put that there before we go into the tips. Another side note is, how do you position comedy? How do you use comedy for it to be funny? Now, you may have seen a lot of people say, take 19 minutes to tell one joke. And that punch at the end of the 19 minutes better be good, because otherwise it's going to be a horrible joke. So in other words, the punch or the funny part has to justify the buildup. In other words, there's a big thing in comedy where we talk about the economics of comedy. So you want to be really efficient. You want to say as less amount of words possible so that the punch works. Why would you tell us a joke that's 19 minutes if you could get the same laugh in 3 minutes? It doesn't make any sense. So the concept that I want to share with you right now is setup and punch. So what is the setup? It's very simple. Setup is just the part that's not funny of the joke. It's the beginning, it's the information, and most importantly, it's often true. And then the punch is just the funny part, where you can exaggerate, and that's the part that triggers the laugh. So as you may have noticed, I'm not using any slides because I want you to get it. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. This is a conversation, but I'm going to be going through the tips right now. So I'm going to be giving you some examples from my jokes so that you can better understand these concepts. So I'm going to share with you how I open some of my comedy shows. And the first comedy tool is leave the word that's funny to the end. I'm going to put them in the chat, but I want you to take your own notes. No slides, because I really want you to get it. So this is how I open my shows, okay? And notice how the word that triggers the joke, that triggers the laugh, is at the end of the entire sentence. Why? Because there has to be a pause so that you can laugh. If I continue talking, I'm trumping your laugh. And you're going to be like, because I'm still talking. You got to give the audience a chance. So here it goes. So I'm like, hi, everyone. My name is Stefan Dyer, and I am Costa Rican, or as most people call us, Mexican. I don't know what it is in Canada, but in North America, if you speak Spanish, people think you're Mexican. And you know what? I love it. I love it. I lived in Mexico many years. I love Mexican. It's an incredible country. By a show of hands, anybody ever been to Mexico? Let's see some hands. Beautiful. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I am myself an eternal immigrant. I've lived in many countries. I've lived in Costa Rica. Anybody been to Costa Rica? That's where I was born. Yes, I see some hands. Then I lived in Peru. My parents are Peruvian. Then I moved to El Salvador. Then I moved to Mexico. Then I moved to Montreal and then Toronto, all because of my dad's job. My dad is a drug lord. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. He's a diplomat. But if you watch Narcos on Netflix, you know that in Latin America, drug lord, diplomat, it's kind of like the same thing sometimes, you know? Okay, stop. Why are some of you laughing? Why is this funny? See it. The first joke, the last word which triggered the laugh was Mexican. So I'm Costa Rican, or as most people call us, Mexican. Now, why is this funny? It comes from a place of pain. Because when I came here at the beginning, I was like, I'm Costa Rican. They're like, oh, I love Cancun. And I'm like, what? Costa Rica is not in Mexico. And it really bugged me. But then I used this pain and turned it around to make people laugh. It's also true because it happens so much to Latinos, where if you speak Spanish, they think you're Mexican. So there's pain because it's a stereotype, and there's pain because it's kind of offensive that people don't know where you are, but it's also true. So as you see, there's the truth and the pain. That's why it's funny. But if I don't put it in a setup and punch format, where the word that triggers a laugh, so the punch, that word is at the end, it's not that funny. So look at the contrast. I'm Costa Rican, or as most people call us, Mexican. Pause, you laugh. Or I'm like, I'm Costa Rican, but a lot of people call us Mexican because, you know, people don't know where Costa Rica is. That's why they say Mexican. That's not funny. Because I'm like, I keep talking. So when you laugh at the beginning, I'm still talking. So you're like, oh, I'm not going to laugh because he's still talking. I lived in all these countries because of my dad's job. My dad is a drug lord. Pause, you laugh. Or I could be like, I've lived in all these countries. You know, my dad is a drug lord. That's what people say when I always mention that I've moved around. I'm giving the joke away. That's not funny. So the word that triggers it is at the end of the sentence so that people can laugh in that pause. Now you may think, what if people don't laugh? It is what it is. You just have to test it out and see what part of your life is funny. Comedy lives in all of us. You just have to unlock it. Now, the second tool, I have some comments here. So stand-up comedy is different than physical comedy. Yeah, that's very true. We're going to talk about physical comedy. Really good. All right, so the second tool is the rule of three. What is the rule of three? In Toastmasters, we use it a lot as well, where we go talk about in your speech, say the three things that you're going to talk about. 3 is very easy to remember. It's also the smallest number where you can create a pattern and break it. So comedy uses the rule of 3 so much. So for example, I'm going to give you a very simple example so you get it. The biggest thing about comedy is creating an expectation. You guide the audience somewhere and then you you pull the rug from under them, and then they laugh. You think you're going somewhere, and then you switch it up last second. So if I say 2, 4, what do you think is next? 6. But comedians, they go 2, 4, 77. And you're like, because you didn't expect it. So another simple example could be, I love dogs, cats, and kites. So I set up an expectation of dogs, cats, and you're thinking another pet. But I say something totally unrelated. So you could say, let's build a rule of 3. So the rule of 3 is saying something believable, and then something exaggerated, unexpected. So let's build it right now. So let's do 2 things that are believable. Okay, so I'm going to call on 2 of you to give me something really believable of something that you love about Toastmasters. So, Alan, unmute yourself. So give me one thing that you actually love about Toastmasters.
Table topics.
Table topics, really good. Okay. Paul Bates, unmute yourself and tell me one thing that you actually love about Toastmasters.
Camaraderie.
Okay. Table topics and camaraderie. And Paul Falkowski, tell me one thing that you really love, unmute yourself, that you really love about American football.
All the entertainment we get at the halftime show.
Okay, there you go. So a joke with the rule of 3 could be, the thing that I love about Toastmasters the most is table topics, the camaraderie, and the halftime show. So, I mean, some of you are laughing, some of you are not, because, I mean, it's an okay joke. We just built it out. But it's believable, and then not exaggerated. So if Paul would have been like tackling people, it would have been even funnier because it's crazy. The 3 things I love about Toastmaster the most are table topics, the camaraderie, and tackling people. You're like, what? That's actually a little funnier. So that's the rule of 3. 2, 4, 77. Table topics, camaraderie, and tackling people, or the halftime show. And because you set up an expectation of believable, you think the third one is believable. When it's not, when it's exaggerated, that's the punch. You laugh because it's unexpected. Okay, the third tool is misdirection, which really ties in with what we've just talked about, the unexpected. So, has anybody you could unmute yourself. Does anybody know a joke about either just a joke that you know, or that you've seen that you really like from a comedian on Netflix or YouTube? You can just unmute yourself or raise your hand, and I guarantee you it has misdirection because it's one of the most popular tools in comedy. Okay, we're getting no hands, so I'm gonna get you one of my jokes from my show. So basically, I'd say that I came from Costa Rica, and I studied finance. But getting a job is really hard in Canada because in all the interviews, you get questions with acronyms. It's really hard. People are really professional, really specific. So my first interview at the bank, I was lost. I went to the bank and they were like, do you have any designations? Do you have an MBA? Do you have a CFA? Do you have a CA? And I was like, do you have a PMP? Do you have a PhD? And I was like, well, as a kid, I had ADD. One time in university, I contracted an STD. At night, I watch HBO and MTV. And in Toronto, I take the TTC, you know? But those I don't have. So that is misdirection. You set up the expectation. You go, okay, I'm MBA, CFA. You have a PMP, do you have a PhD? That's believable. That happens. You get a lot of acronyms in interviews. And then you expect me to answer with another designation, like a real one. But I said, well, as a kid, I had ADD. So that really twists it and it gets a lot of laughs. That's misdirection. So again, it's very similar to the rule of three, but it's just setting up the expectation and you expect that the person would respond with something real. But then you respond with something that is exaggerated or different. So as a kid, I had ADD, and that's why it gets a big laugh. That's misdirection. Now, the fourth tool is comparison. This is a very simple one. And you're just, no joke, comparing. So what would you be comparing? Anything really. You're comparing A to B. Or you're comparing apples to oranges. We could really compare anything right now. So one of the best ways to do it, I'm going to give you an example from my show, but one of the best ways to do it is to build a list of 10 things from list A and 10 things from item B. And then you actually find things that are common between them, and it'd be really good to compare them. Now, the other way to do it is really just comparing A with B, where A is believable and B is exaggerated. So I'll tell you, very simple, an example from my show. So going back to my show, Surviving Canada, I talk about getting a job here, and it was very hard because Canadians are very smart. People here are very specific. You do something very well for 40 years and you're gold. You're gold. You retire, you buy your cottage, that's perfect. But as a newcomer, you have to do 100 things. Hopefully you'll find a job. Hopefully you'll be able to monetize one of them, because we have to reinvent ourselves. So I talk about, so basically, if you ask a Canadian, they're like, oh, what do you do? They answer with one thing. One thing, very specific, very professional, very concise. You ask a Canadian, what do you do? And they're like, engineer. You ask another Canadian, what do you do? Architect. You ask another Canadian, some people get really specific. They're like, I prepare coffees, 1 milk, 1 sugar, and medium double doubles. That's all I do. But you ask a Latino, what do you do? We can't answer one thing. We do 100 things. You ask a Latino, what do you do? We're like, what are you looking for, my friend? I can help you. Give me 20 bucks. What? It doesn't exist. We can invent it, my friend. I can help you. So that's the comparison. It's really building contrast. So the first one, A, Canadians are professional, smart, and they get really specific. And that is believable. It's actually true. I wish I could just specialize. I like do many things, And then the contrast, which is believable too, but you exaggerate it. It's newcomers. You ask a newcomer, what do you do? And then you're expecting, obviously, a job or a couple, and you're like, what are you looking for? Which is like, it's actually true. Like Latinos, we're like that. A lot of people are like that, like especially newcomers. So the key to comparing here is that you tell A, the believable one, in a very normal tone. Engineer, architect. And then the other one, there has to be a stark contrast, not just in the thing, but in your tonality and your body language. So I could just be like, you ask a newcomer, what do you do? Like, what are you looking for? That's not funny. You have to really accompany it with your body language and your tonality so that there's a big contrast in A and B. What do you do? What are you looking for, my friend? That is what makes it funny. So A to B. Okay, tool number 5. And here I'm going to ask Alan, just a quick question. When is the, what time did we start? And when does it specifically finish? So I can, because I want to, go ahead.
It's at 10:40, so 10:40.
Okay,
That's when
perfect.
yeah.
So we're right on time because there's going to be some where I'm going to interact with some of you, like in this one. This is extremely useful. Point out the elephant in the room. Does anybody know what this is? Does anybody know what pointing out the elephant in the room means? Love it. Wendy, can you unmute yourself? Tell me what it means. Tell me what you think it means or something that you've seen.
It means that we all know something is part of a situation, but nobody wants to talk about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Really good. So it said, it's if there was an elephant in the room, nobody would be paying attention to my presentation because you'd be looking at the elephant. So
if I came to a big deck meeting with blue and purple striped hair and nobody wanted to say anything because I was the district director, that would be the elephant in the room.
Exactly. So a good speaker, a good presenter, knowing that you lost already because nobody's listening to your message, they're looking at the elephant in the room, you have to point it out so that you can release the tension. It typically gets a laugh, and then you can turn the page. Now everyone is paying attention again. So I want to talk to a couple of you, and you can just unmute yourself or raise your hand and I'll call on you. What's the most uncomfortable thing that you've either experienced in a speech or you've seen in a presentation? So let's get some hands, or unmute yourself, or I'm going to call on a couple of you. Let's see. The worst thing, something uncomfortable, something that made you uncomfortable. Okay, Marilyn, love it.
I lost my words. I was talking and all of a sudden, boom, it was gone. So I had to find a way of getting back into the speech.
Yes, I love that. You went blank. Yes, you forgot your material in front of an audience, which is all like, it's likely one of us Toastmasters' worst fears, just forgetting. Really good. Okay, I need one more person. Something really uncomfortable. David.
It was in a competition actually, and I had a magic prop, and it fell out of my hand, and I think if you guys know what that is, maybe if you're in magic, you know what it is. But I was able to somehow find an excuse to pick it back up, and hopefully had no one recognize it.
There you go. So very similar things. It could happen to you, or it could also happen in the audience. So you lost. Nobody's paying attention to your message because something is bigger. Either you forgot your material, or the magic trick didn't go well, or somebody fell, or somebody, like a waiter, poured the whole pitcher of beer on someone. Everyone's like, oh my God. Or someone's coughing, or someone's whispering, or someone's on the phone while you're talking. Anything can be the elephant in the room. It could also be, like Wendy said, you have an extreme change of look. Like maybe I'd come tomorrow with my head shaved and I'm like, hey, good morning, everyone. I'm so happy that you're here. And everyone's like thinking, whoa, 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 whoa. You're not going to talk about what's going on with the hair. Or you could be like dressed up perfectly and you have a huge coffee stain. And you're like, good morning, thank you. And everyone's like, whoa, whoa, what happened to what's this whole thing? That's the elephant in the room. I'm gonna give a really crazy example that I give my comedy students, and then I'm gonna give another example that I saw on TV. So we were in a real room here, we were in the conference in a real room, not virtual, and it started to smell like fart, like the room started to stink up. And then Jing is laughing a lot just by thinking about it. So you're trying to focus on the presentation. I'm trying to focus too, but it smells horrible. So all of you are playing Clue. You're like, and then everyone's like, oh no, for sure it was Alan, because he was eating something. Or for sure it was Stefan, because I saw him having some Timbits and coffee before, or like Kareem was having it, and we were all playing for sure. And see, the thing is, nobody's listening because everyone's trying to figure out, or everyone's like, so a good speaker, knowing that you lost already, nobody's paying attention, can be like, okay, guys, who fired him? And everyone's like, you laugh, it's uncomfortable. It's already uncomfortable. So you laugh, you release the tension. It's still going to smell horrible, but now at least we're talking about it. We can turn the page and you can pay attention again. The other example was in the Eddie Murphy Comedy Hall of Fame induction. George Lopez, who's a really good Latin comedian, was doing 5 minutes of comedy at the theater, huge theater, just as for Eddie Murphy's induction to the Hall of Fame. And then there was an old man. He was like 95 in the front row, and he was like, and couldn't stop coughing to the point that I was looking at the video and I could hear the guy cough, and it was like first row, so you could kind of see him as well. It was so loud that nobody was paying attention to George Lopez doing the set. And George Lopez, being the great comedian that he is, he was doing the show, and then he knew that he lost because nobody was paying attention anymore. They were looking at the guy. He stops, looks at the guy, and he's like, "Are you gonna die already?" And like everyone exploded in laughter. And it was uncomfortable because he was choking, but he laughed so hard too that he stopped choking, and then he could continue the show. So you have to, I don't know if this is a saying in English, but grab the bull by the horns or something, because otherwise nobody's paying attention anyways. It's also really good in business. Let's say that Jim here is the vice president, and he just had to fire someone because it was a management decision. We're all in the conference room and we're all thinking, oh my God, Jim is such a bad person. He fired Maria, or he fired Andrew. Why? Andrew's such a great person. And everyone's just, so Jim, being the great, he knows that nobody's paying attention to the business presentation because everyone's thinking, I'm a horrible person because I fired Andrew and Maria. Even if Jim just points out the elephant in the room, you get people's attention back again. So Jim could be like, guys, I know this is a very tough moment. We just had to let go Andrew and Maria. I know that you may not agree with the decision, but this is a business decision. And I hope that we can move forward together as a team so that we can get the best results and serve our clients as best as we can. You're still judging Jim because you don't agree with the decision, but now at least he pointed it out. And you're like, oh, okay, whatever. At least like now we can, so now you focus. You turn the page, and now at least you're not thinking, oh, he's a better, blah, blah, blah. Now you're like, okay, let's listen to the presentation. At least he pointed it out. It's an incredible, incredible tool. Okay. The sixth tool here is a callback. Does anybody know what a callback is? Let me see some hands. Does anybody know what a callback is? Okay, Tina, can you unmute yourself and tell me what a callback is, or what you think it is, or what you've seen?
Sure. A callback is when you mention something at the beginning.
Yes.
For example, and then you go back to it, usually at the end. But it could be during the speech. Incredible.
That's exactly it. So you say something, you establish something at the beginning or at the middle, and then at the end, it just has to be after. Then the initial establishment of that point or that joke, and then at the end, you call back to it. Some of the best comedians in the world, if you go on Netflix or YouTube or Comedy Central, you will see even some of the best keynote speakers that they end their speeches with a callback. And it's a fantastic way to do it because people feel like they're smart. They feel like they're in, they get it. They feel part of the joke. So I'll give you one of my examples, and then you'll understand what a callback is even better. So I have a joke about getting lost in translation where I say that it's hard learning English. So I say that one of my favorite times when I used to be at the bank was when they brought this lady from Bogota, Colombia. Her name was Maria. She was a director, very professional lady. And that week, this is a true story, by the way. That week, she was very proud because her son Ernesto had just been admitted to Yale University. You guys know Yale, Ivy League University in Connecticut. And then she was telling all of us in Spanish, oh, I'm so proud, blah, blah. And then the Canadian VP walked in and he was like, oh, Maria, can you translate? It seems like you're having a great time. What's all the fuss about? So Maria had just landed to Canada, barely spoke any English, and she gets up in front of the entire floor and she's like, Mr. Smith, let me tell you, I'm so proud of my son Ernesto because he's in jail. And the VP was like, oh my God, he's in, what happened? Is he okay? Like for how long? And she's like, Mr. Smith, he's in jail for 4 years. And he's like, oh my God, that is insane. Is he okay? And she's like, you know, Mr. Smith, very hard making friends in jail, you know? And like, it's like, oh my God, after like 5 minutes of getting lost in translation, he's like, oh, you mean Yale? And she was like, just jail, same thing, Mr. Smith. So that's the joke, okay? That's a jail joke, okay? You get it? Fine, whatever. Then I continue doing my set. I do other 15 minutes of comedy, blah, 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 blah. And then I start saying that one of my favorite days in Canada was my first time I went to a bar. I was expecting Latin music, salsa, merengue, bachata, reggaeton. I was expecting to dance like back home. And then all they played was Drake and Drake and Drake. And if people wanted to cry, they would play The Weeknd. And I was like devastated. But like the DJ, it was like a sign from God. He played Daddy Yankee Gasolina, which is like the national anthem of Latinos. And then I went into the dance floor. I was dancing. It was like my first week in Canada. I barely spoke any English. I actually made out with this girl. She thought she was learning how to dance salsa. I thought I was getting my papers. It was magical. I was having so much fun. And then 2 a.m., worst part of Canada, 2 a.m., you get kicked out of the club, no more alcohol. So I'm outside of the club with this girl, and I'm like, I don't barely speak English. I'm like, how do I ask this girl if she wants to come with me, you know? And so I'm like, excuse me, you wanna come back to my house? And she's like, what? I don't even know you. Do you even have a job? Did you even go to university? And I'm like, of course, yes, I went to jail. So that's how I end my show. And if you see, jail is the callback to the jail joke that I said 20 minutes ago. But if I was just like, do you have a job? Did you even go to university? Of course, yes, I went to jail. You're like, what? That doesn't make sense. That's dumb. But now, because you got the jail joke, now you get the callback because you're in. So you feel part of the joke. You feel part of the speech. You feel smart as well because you get it. So the callback obviously has to be after an initial point that you establish, and it calls back. It's an incredible way to end speeches and end comedy sets, obviously, because you get a laugh. When you pause, you get a laugh, and then you can be like, thank you very much, guys, and then you leave. That's a great way to end it. So callbacks are beautiful. And the beautiful thing is you can do many callbacks, not just to one point, but to many points. And people feel like they're part of the joke. You also get a very good sense of whether or not people are paying attention. Because you get a physical reaction. Okay, the seventh tool is something that doesn't get used a lot in serious speeches, but it should. And it is what if. What if is a great way to get people to laugh. you almost get an immediate laughter just by saying, what if? So you grab, the first step is getting a historical event or something that's happening right now in the news. And then you say, what if it would have happened in a different way? What if Costa Ricans had made it to the moon before the Americans? You know, what if Mario Perez would have been to the moon instead of Neil Armstrong? Like, what would he have said? What would the NASA be called? What would they have put on the moon instead of an American flag? It would have been like, I don't know, like a band of mariachis playing on the moon. I don't know, like what could it have happened? What if Latinos would have been on the moon before? What if we wouldn't have been colonized by the Spanish or the British? What if actually it would have been a Koreans coming to South America? Or what if actually Costa Ricans would have gone and conquered England? Or what if anything? What if anything in the news? What if the COVID restrictions would say you can't watch Netflix? What if instead of what if instead of playing or Ray wearing a Liverpool jersey, what if he had to wear an American football jersey? What if he had to wear I don't know, swimming stuff to Toastmasters? What if we had to wear swimming attire to Toastmasters? So you know that what's the status quo? What's happening? We wear business casual to Toastmasters. What if we had to do something else? What if we had to drink alcohol at Toastmasters before you do a speech? What if we had to run 10K before every meeting of Toastmasters? Anything. And you obviously need to be sure that your audience knows what happened in the historical event. So we all know that Neil Armstrong was the first man on the moon. He was American. Okay, we get that. Now you can say, what if it would have happened a different way? What if it would have been the Irish on the moon? What if it would have been the South Korean on the moon? These little things get an immediate laugh, and then it's beautiful because you can just explore that scenario, and trust me, you're gonna get beautiful laughter and a result. Karen says, my club had a beach party last week and we came in bathing suits. That's amazing. And it typically gets a laugh because you know what the original, what it's supposed to be, and then you get the contrast. It's like the comparison. It's a comparison, but in a what if environment. I'm gonna put together tip number 8 and number 9 because they're very tied together. So 8 and 9 are know your audience and crowd work. Okay, actually I put it in a private message. So 8 and 9, know your audience and crowd work. I want to talk to one of you and see what's the worst part of interacting with an audience. What are you scared of? What are you scared could happen if you interact with an audience, or what has gone wrong when you interact with an audience? Let's see some hands, or unmute yourself. If not, okay, Janice, love it. You're still on mute.
What if I was on mute?
Yes.
Sorry, I may have raised my hand prematurely. Am I volunteering or am I supposed to have an answer to a question?
Yeah, no, so the question is very simple. When you interact with an audience or crowd work, do you love it? Are you uncomfortable? Has anything ever gone wrong when interacting with an audience?
Okay, I love it. And that fuels me. Last night I had to roast Wendy Williamson, and it was very difficult to do on Zoom because I had no audience interaction. I didn't know if they were, spitting at me or throwing things or laughing at my jokes. I just had no feedback, and I need that crowd work to keep the momentum up.
Love it. Thank you, Janice. So Marilyn, you wanted to say something?
It could be the reverse as well. I remember being at my first district contests, and I was a newbie, and there was a fellow in the audience going like this the whole time. And so I thought, oh, I must be bombing. So all of a sudden, everybody else that was going like this came into the audience, and I didn't know how to come back. And then, and then after the contest, he said, oh, I loved your speech. And I thought, well, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you let your face know that?
Yes, that is such a good point. Thank you so much, Marilyn, because the rule number one, also being a speaker, but when it comes to interacting with an audience and crowd work, is you can't take it personal. Like Marilyn is saying, maybe that guy was just born with that face, and he can't do anything about it. And the thing is, like you said, some people are like this and they're having an 8 out of 10 time. And then some people are like this and they're maybe having a 6 out of 10 time. You can't take it personal. So really, really good points. Thank you, Janice and Marilyn. So I'll tell you a couple things about know your audience and crowd work. What I do is I always arrive early and I am writing. I'm observing every single person. I'm observing all the tables. I'm observing the audience. And I'm thinking, what's weird about this audience? What's different? What's special? Who, like Liverpool jersey, the background of David. Paul is in heaven right now. Like all these little things that I've noticed about all of you. I'm mentioning your names. So I'm getting you to pay attention. So David says, how do you crowd work online? It's actually very similar. So knowing your audience is half the battle. There's 3 ways to do it. The first is asking the organizer who's going to be there. Now, if the organizer doesn't know, you go there early and you see who your audience is. You also talk to them. And you're like, why are you here? Who invited you? And if you can't, because you're in the green room or you're behind, you're late or whatever, you do it in real time. You say, I want to get to know some of you. Again, I want to get to know all of you. And you go, by show of hands, who here is in marketing? By show of hands, who here is from District 60? By show of, so you get to know your audience. And then once you know them, you can interact better. There's 3 benefits of crowd work. And going back to David's crowd work online, it is the first benefit of interacting with an audience is, let's say that we're all in tables right now. So I speak to Janice in one table, we just spoke, and then I spoke to Marilyn in one table. But the best thing about this is that when I talk to Janice, everyone at her table, so Tina, Ray, Jim, Wendy, Joanne, Ellen, Paul, Reg, and Karen, they're all like, oh my God, I better pay attention because I could be next. So just by me talking to Janice, I'm already getting everyone to pay attention in her table. And then I multiply that. Now I'm talking to Marilyn. Everyone at her table is paying attention. Just by me saying their names or talking to their table, I got their attention. Now they're not on Facebook. Now they're not thinking about something else. So then the second benefit is when they're talking, they're on the spotlight. I can breathe and think what's next. And the third benefit is that it's statistically proven that when people participate and they hear their name, even if it's just raising their hand, they learn more. When you participate, you learn more. And it stops being a presentation and it starts being an experience. It's the worst. We've all seen it. People reading a PowerPoint and you're like, dude, I can read too. This could have been an email. That's why I don't do like long PowerPoints. I want you to get it. I want you to participate. So that is crowd work and knowing your audience. And the last one, which is 30 seconds, is a cheat sheet and water. I said this last night and it's the biggest hack. Cheat sheet on the right, water on top. And when, I don't remember who said it, but if you forget your material, you say, 1 second, I'm just going to drink some water. And as you drink water, you gently look at your cheat sheet with 5 keywords. If you're on the 3rd word, then you know what's next, the 4th word. Each point corresponds to a paragraph or a main point. So then you're drinking, and then then you go. Now I want to talk to you about, that's the beauty of water and the cheat sheet, my friends. Always bring water because you could get thirsty, but you could also forget your material. And the cheat sheet is just that comfort. Most of the time, you don't even need it. So my friends, that is 10 comedy tips to influence any audience. I hope that you go and try them. Remember, just switching the tonality in your body language, comparing A to B, is going to make a huge difference. Use a what if, use the misdirection, surprise people, and you're going to kill it. Add me on LinkedIn if you want any more tips or you want to take my comedy course. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Alan. You're a 10 out of 10, my friend. Thank you for organizing and being so patient.
Thank you, Stefan. What if we could have this workshop go on? I'm telling you, this would have been so much fun. So thank you so much, Stefan. It was amazing. All the 10 tips, I think so. I'm going to try it out on my, I think so. My first guinea pig is going to be my wife. Okay, I'm going to try.
Yeah.
But that being said, it has been wonderful. I think so. All of these were amazing and great tips. So thank you, Stefan. Appreciate all your effort and getting these tips to all of us. I really want to call out to all the participants. Please, I'm going to put out the survey link right in the chat for everyone. Please do fill out the survey link, and all these feedback will come to you. And I said, these are recorded as well. So if you feel that you've missed something, I'm sure everyone has taken notes. But if you still feel has missed something, this would be posted as a recording later. All right.
If we could take a selfie, that'd be incredible. Whoever's comfortable, I always like to take selfies with my groups. So on the count of 3, if you're cool, go like this, go like this. 1, 2, 3.
Go. I got it. I got it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Big hug, everyone.
Thank you.
We'll talk later. We'll talk on LinkedIn. Have a great afternoon. Have a great morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Stefan. And for everyone, at 11 o'clock, there is a separate link, which is the George Keenan Award. You don't want to miss that. Please do go to the district website and get to that link. And later today, we have the contest. So you are in for a ride. So please don't miss that as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining this meeting. It has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm presenting the George Keenan Award. And I'm presenting it at 11 o'clock. So I hope to see all of you there.
That's true, Kareem. Thank you.
Bye, Kareem.
Bye-bye.
I guess I'll come, Kareem.
This year's is a surprise, right? There's very few people who know it. So
yes.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.